I'm a 30-year-old guy, a CNA who works grueling night shifts, and I've been married to my husband, Michael, for just under a year. We met in college, back when life felt like a whirlwind of new ideas and late-night talks. I was studying nursing, juggling part-time jobs, and Michael was this quiet guy in my sociology class with a sharp wit and a guarded smile. We clicked fast, shared coffees turned into dates, and soon we were inseparable. After graduation, we both wanted a fresh start, so we moved 3 states away from his hometown, a small Bible Belt community where the air feels thick with judgment. We settled into a modest apartment, dreaming of a life built on our terms. Michael's past wasn't easy. He grew up in a conservative family, the middle kid between an older brother, John, and a younger sister, Chelsea, who's now 17. His parents were the kind who saw church as a second home, quoting scripture at every turn. When Michael came out as gay at 19, they didn't just disapprove, they erupted. His mom cried about sin, his dad called him a disappointment, and they told him to leave and not come back. It broke him. But he packed a bag and moved as far as he could. He cut contact with his parents and John, who sided with them. But he kept in touch with Chelsea. She was just a kid then, too young to understand the family's rejection, but old enough to adore her big brother. They'd text or call, small lifelines across the distance. Life for us isn't glamorous, but it's ours. My job as a CNA means long hours, aching feet, and nights spent helping patients while the world sleeps. It pays the bills, but it's exhausting, leaving me drained by morning. Michael had a steady office job until the pandemic hit in 2020. His company downsized, and he was let go. Now he works part-time at a local bookstore, picking up shifts when he can. Money's tight, and we're still figuring out how to balance our dreams with reality. We got married recently, a small ceremony with a few friends, promising to keep things simple and stay child-free. We've always agreed, kids aren't for us. Our life is full enough with work, each other, and the occasional weekend getaway when we can afford it. Those early years with Michael showed me his strength. He'd talk about Chelsea sometimes, how she'd send him funny memes or vent about her strict parents. He worried about her, stuck in that rigid household, but he felt powerless to help from so far away. I admired his loyalty to her, even after everything his family put him through. We built a routine, leaning on each other through late-night shifts and job stress, always circling back to our shared goal, a stable, independent life, free from the shadows of his past. Little did I know how that past would show up at our doorstep, ready to test everything we'd worked for. Life with Michael was steady, but that all changed one morning. I dragged myself home after a 12-hour night shift, my body aching from lifting patients, and my mind foggy from lack of sleep. All I wanted was a hot shower and a few hours of quiet. Instead, I opened our apartment door to find Chelsea, Michael's 17-year-old sister, sitting on our couch, clutching a mug of tea. Her backpack was slumped by her feet, and her eyes were red, like she'd been crying. Michael sat across from her, his face tight with worry. I froze. Chelsea lived 3 states away in their hometown, a place Michael had left behind for good. What was she doing here? Chelsea, why aren't you home? I asked, dropping my bag. She looked down, her voice small. My parents kicked me out. I blinked, trying to process. Kicked you out? Why? She took a shaky breath and said, I'm pregnant. My stomach dropped. Chelsea, barely out of high school, was pregnant. She explained the rest in a rush. The father was some hotshot quarterback from her school, the kind who thought he was untouchable. He wanted nothing to do with the baby. And when Chelsea told her parents, they lost it. They gave her an ultimatum: wait 2 months until she turned 18, marry the guy, and fix the situation, or get out. Chelsea refused to marry someone who didn't care about her or the baby. So, her parents, steeped in their Bible Belt beliefs, packed her a bag and told her not to come back. I glanced at Michael. He was staring at the floor, his jaw tight, like he was replaying every fight he'd had with his own parents. Chelsea's story hit hard. Their family was all about appearances, church on Sundays, perfect kids, no scandals. A pregnant teenager who wouldn't play along, didn't fit their mold. I could picture her mom, probably quoting scripture, and her dad, stone-faced, shutting the door. It wasn't just cruel. It was the same rejection Michael faced when he came out. Now Chelsea was here, with nowhere else to go. I was exhausted, my legs screaming to sit down, but my mind raced. I felt a pang of sympathy for Chelsea. She was just a kid, scared and alone, carrying a weight no teenager should have to. But I was also rattled. Our apartment was small, our budget was tight, and my shifts left me with barely enough energy to get through the day. How did Chelsea even get here? A bus, she said. Paid for with her savings. She'd called Michael from the station, and he'd picked her up while I was at work. I looked at her, curled up on our couch, and wondered how our simple life had gotten so complicated so fast. Part of me wanted to help her, but another part screamed that we weren't equipped for this. What came next would test us in ways I hadn't expected. Chelsea's arrival had already thrown our world off balance, and then Michael dropped a bombshell. We stood in our tiny kitchen, out of earshot from Chelsea, who was still on the couch, sipping her tea. Michael's eyes were intense, his voice low but urgent. "We should raise the baby," he said. "Chelsea can't do this alone, and I can't let her down like our parents did." I stared at him, my tired brain struggling to catch up. Raise her baby, us. The idea hit me like a punch. Michael was serious, his face a mix of determination and guilt, like he saw this as his chance to save his sister from the family that had rejected them both. I shook my head, the words spilling out before I could soften them. "Absolutely not. Michael, we can't raise a baby." My voice was sharper than I meant, but I was exhausted, and the thought of taking on a child felt like a weight I couldn't carry. I listed the reasons, ticking them off like a checklist. First, we couldn't afford it. My CNA salary barely covered our rent, and his part-time bookstore job wasn't enough to stretch further. Second, my night shifts left me drained. 12 hours of running between patients didn't leave room for midnight feedings or diaper changes. And third, the biggest truth, I didn't want kids. Never had. "Children just aren't my cup of tea," I said, my tone final. We'd talked about this before we got married, agreeing to a child-free life focused on us, our careers, and the freedom to live simply. Now, Michael was asking me to rewrite that promise. He looked like I'd slapped him. His shoulders slumped, and he ran a hand through his hair, something he did when he was upset. "She's my sister," he said quietly. "I can't just watch her struggle." I got it. Michael had spent years feeling helpless, cut off from Chelsea by distance and his parents' control. But this wasn't the answer. I felt a knot of frustration tighten in my chest. Why was he putting this on us? We weren't equipped, and it wasn't our responsibility to fix his family's mess. I glanced at Chelsea through the kitchen doorway. She was staring at her phone, her face unreadable. I couldn't tell if she was hurt, relieved, or just numb. Did she even want us to take her baby? She hadn't said a word about it. The air between Michael and me felt heavy, like we were standing on opposite sides of a line we'd never drawn before. I wanted to support Chelsea, but not like this. My job already took everything I had, and our life was built on choices we'd made together. I wasn't ready to give that up, not for a baby we didn't plan for. But Michael's pain was real, and I hated seeing him hurt. I wondered if I was being too harsh, if there was another way to help without losing ourselves. That question hung over me, unanswered, as we faced the uncertainty of what came next. The weight of Michael's proposal lingered, making our small apartment feel even smaller. I looked at Chelsea, still on the couch, and felt a tug of compassion. She was just a kid, caught in a mess, not entirely her fault. "You can stay here for a bit," I told her, my voice softer than before, "until you figure out your next step." Chelsea nodded, her eyes grateful but distant, like she was still processing her new reality. I meant it. We could give her a temporary safe place, a couch to crash on, some time to breathe. But that was my limit. Taking on her baby was a line I wouldn't cross, and I needed Michael to understand that. Back in the kitchen, Michael was quiet, his earlier upset now a heavy silence. I could see the conflict in his eyes. He was torn between his loyalty to Chelsea and the life we'd built together. "I just want to help her," he said finally, his voice low. "She's got no one else." I got it. Michael had spent years carrying the guilt of leaving Chelsea behind in that judgmental town, and now she was here, needing him. But his solution felt like it was pulling us apart. "We can help her without raising her kid," I said, trying to keep my frustration in check. "We can't take on everything." My job as a CNA already drained me long nights, endless patience, barely enough left for myself, Adding a baby to our tight budget and cramped space wasn't just hard. It was impossible. I leaned against the counter, my mind racing. I've always been the practical one, the guy who makes lists and sticks to plans. Michael's heart was bigger, always ready to jump in and fix things. That's why we worked until now, when his heart was asking for something I couldn't give. We'd agreed to a child-free life, not out of selfishness, but because it fit us. Our talks about the future were about saving for a better place. Maybe traveling, not diapers and school runs. Now, Chelsea's situation was testing that agreement, and it scared me. What if Michael resented me for saying no? What if I was being too cold, too rigid? Chelsea joined us, breaking the tension. "I don't expect you to take my baby," she said quietly. "I just need somewhere to stay until I get on my feet." Her words eased some of my worry, but not all. Michael still looked conflicted, and I felt stuck. I wanted to support them both, but not at the cost of our stability. Was I wrong to put our life first? I wasn't sure. Part of me wondered if there was a middle ground, some way to help Chelsea without losing what we'd worked so hard for. As I stood there, caught between compassion and my own limits, I knew we had to find a way forward, but I didn't know how. The uncertainty from that tense night hung over us. But 2 days later, things started to shift. Michael and I hadn't talked much since our kitchen standoff, both of us tiptoeing around the baby question. That evening, after I got home from another long shift, we sat on our bed, the apartment quiet with Chelsea asleep on the couch. "I need to understand why this matters so much to you," I said, keeping my voice calm. Michael sighed, his eyes distant. "When I left home, I left Chelsea behind," he said. "She was just a kid, stuck with our parents' rules. I feel like I failed her." His guilt poured out, years of wondering if he could have done more, protected her from their family's judgment. He saw helping her now as a way to make up for it, even if it meant raising her baby. I listened, my heart softening but my resolve holding. "I get why you feel that way," I said, "but we can't take on a child. It's not fair to us or the baby." Michael nodded slowly, like he was starting to see my side. Just then, Chelsea knocked on the door, her face nervous. She sat with us, her hands twisting in her lap. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I don't know how to be a mom alone, but I want to try." She'd been thinking about her future, planning to find a job, maybe waitressing and save for a cheap apartment. She didn't want us to take her baby. She just needed a place to start. Her determination surprised me, and I felt a mix of relief and respect for her. The next day, I grabbed coffee with my coworker, Lisa, who's seen me through plenty of rough shifts. I spilled everything: Chelsea's situation, Michael's proposal, my refusal. "You're not wrong to set boundaries," Lisa said. "You can help her without giving up your life." She suggested looking into local programs for young moms, which gave me an idea. Back home, Michael and I researched social services, housing aid, job training, parenting classes. We agreed to help Chelsea navigate these, letting her stay a few weeks while she applied. It felt like a compromise we could both live with, one that didn't break our child-free promise. By the end of the day, I felt lighter, like we'd found a path forward. Chelsea was grateful, already filling out job applications. Michael seemed less torn, his guilt easing as we focused on practical help. But tension lingered. I could sense Michael still wrestling with his instincts, and I worried about how we'd balance this new dynamic. Our life, built on clear choices, was being tested, and I clung to the hope that we could support Chelsea without losing ourselves. For now, we were moving forward, one careful step at a time, with a plan in place. The tension in our apartment eased, but 3 weeks later, new challenges tested our resolve. Chelsea was stepping up in ways I hadn't expected. She landed a part-time job waitressing at a diner near our place, her first shift bringing a small but proud smile. She also enrolled in a community program for young mothers, attending classes on parenting and budgeting. Watching her juggle applications and appointments, I saw a spark of determination. She wasn't just surviving, she was fighting for her future and her babies. It made me root for her, even as our lives stayed complicated. Then, Michael's parents called, shattering our fragile calm. They'd heard Chelsea was with us and demanded she return home, claiming she was disgracing the family. Their ultimatum was clear: come back, marry the baby's father, or be cut off for good. Michael was furious, his face pale as he relayed their words. They haven't changed, he said, voice shaking. I felt a surge of anger. 2. How could they abandon their daughter? Just like they did Michael. Chelsea overheard, her expression crumpling. And I realized this wasn't just about her staying with us. It was about her breaking free from their control. We reassured her she could stay, but the call left us all rattled. To navigate our own tension, Michael and I booked a counseling session. Our therapist, a kind woman with a knack for cutting through chaos, helped us unpack our differing views. I admitted my fear of losing our child-free life, while Michael shared his guilt over Chelsea's struggles. You can support her without sacrificing yourselves, the therapist said, and we worked on ways to communicate better, like checking in daily to avoid bottling up feelings. It wasn't a fix-all, but it strengthened us, reminding me why I loved Michael's big heart, even when it clashed with my practicality. Meanwhile, work was taking a toll. The stress of long shifts and home drama caught up, and one night, I nearly collapsed from exhaustion during a patient transfer. My supervisor sent me home, warning me to rest or risk worse. Sitting in our quiet apartment, I reflected on my limits. My job demanded everything, and adding Chelsea's crisis had pushed me too far. It was a wake-up call. I had to protect my health and our marriage, no matter what. That realization fueled a tough decision. When Michael's parents called again, we set firm boundaries. Chelsea's staying here until she's ready, I told them, my voice steady. Don't contact us unless you're ready to support her choices. Michael backed me up, and we blocked their number. It felt harsh, but necessary. Prioritizing Chelsea's independence and our well-being. As Chelsea grew more confident and our communication improved, I felt a cautious hope. We were finding balance, but I knew the road ahead would still have bumps. The boundaries we set with Michael's parents marked a turning point. And now, 2 years later, I can see how far we've come. Chelsea has grown into single motherhood with a strength I didn't expect. She moved into a small apartment last year, paid for with her waitressing job and help from the community program. Her daughter, Lily, is a bubbly toddler now, and Chelsea's face lights up when she talks about her. She and Michael are closer than ever, texting daily, and she often stops by our place with Lily for dinner. I've come to love those visits. Lily's giggles fill our apartment, and Chelsea's resilience inspires me. She's built a life on her terms, and we're proud to be part of it. Like an extended family we chose, Michael and I have grown stronger. 2. That crisis with Chelsea could have broken us, but counseling helped us find our way. We learned to talk through our differences, my need for clear boundaries, his instinct to save everyone. We still don't want kids, and Michael respects that now. Knowing we can support Chelsea without sacrificing our life. Our marriage feels solid, built on honest conversations and small moments, like cooking together after my shifts or laughing over a movie. We've saved enough for a weekend trip next month, a little reward for weathering the storm. Michael's relationship with his parents is still strained. They've reached out a few times, mostly to see Lily, but their calls come with the same old judgment. Michael keeps them at arm's length, polite but distant. I don't need their approval anymore, he told me once, and I could see the relief in his eyes. Supporting Chelsea gave him closure. He's been the brother she needed without letting his parents' toxicity pull him back. It's not perfect, but it's enough. Looking back, I'm amazed at my own growth. Saying no to raising Chelsea's baby was hard, but it taught me the power of boundaries. My job as a CNA still wears me down, but I've learned to manage stress better. Thanks to Lisa's advice and our therapist's tools, I used to think helping family meant giving everything. But now I know it's about giving what you can while protecting yourself. Chelsea and Lily are our chosen family, not a burden. And that shift in perspective has made me more resilient. I'm grateful for our support system, Lisa, who always listens. Our therapist, who guided us. And even Chelsea, who showed us what strength looks like. As I write this, Michael's planning a park day with Lily, and I'm looking forward to a quiet evening with him. Life isn't perfect, but it's balanced, and I'm optimistic about what's ahead. We've built something real, and that's more than enough.